The European immigration crisis has become a defining issue in contemporary politics, particularly in the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and other nations grappling with the movement of people across their borders. However, this issue is not solely about immigration in the general sense. It is about who is immigrating. The stark contrast in how refugees from Ukraine have been treated compared to those fleeing war, persecution, and economic devastation from Syria, Afghanistan, and various African nations exposes the racial undertones of European immigration policies. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, over 5 million Ukrainian refugees dispersed across Europe, seeking safety. Their reception was met with open arms, expedited processes, and an overall sense of solidarity. They were provided with housing, work opportunities, and a welcoming attitude that rarely extended to non-European refugees. Notably, Ukrainian refugees were not formally classified as asylum seekers or refugees, but instead received temporary protection status, a designation that allowed them to integrate into European societies without the bureaucratic hurdles faced by refugees from the Middle East or Africa. In contrast, asylum seekers from war-torn regions such as Syria and Afghanistan, who have faced decades of conflict, foreign interventions, and systemic displacement, are met with suspicion, hostility, and restrictive asylum policies. Many African migrants, escaping persecution, climate change-induced famine, or economic devastation, face even harsher scrutiny. The disparities in treatment between these two groups expose an uncomfortable truth. European immigration debates are not just about numbers or economic impact, but about race and cultural identity. Across Europe, far-right political movements have capitalized on immigration as a tool to stoke fear and gain political power. In the UK, France, and Germany, anti-immigration rhetoric has surged, often targeting non-white immigrants. Before we move on, if you like what we're talking about, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. The UK has long struggled with its colonial past and the implications of its immigration policies. The British government's hostile environment policy, originally designed to deter illegal immigration, has disproportionately affected black and brown immigrants. While Ukrainian refugees have been welcomed with special visa schemes, those from Africa and the Middle East are forced into prolonged asylum-seeking processes, often subjected to detention and deportation threats. The UK's controversial Rwanda deportation scheme, where asylum seekers are forcibly relocated to Rwanda instead of being granted refuge in the UK, does not apply to Ukrainians, exposing the racialized nature of British immigration policy. France has positioned itself as a defender of secular values and national identity, but this has often translated into policies that disproportionately target non-white immigrants. The treatment of African and Middle Eastern migrants, who frequently find themselves in camps such as the infamous jungle in Calais, highlights the nation's resistance to accepting non-European refugees. Meanwhile, Ukrainian refugees were swiftly integrated into French society without the legal and social hurdles typically imposed on non-white migrants. Far-right parties, such as Marine Le Pen's National Rally, have weaponized the presence of non-European immigrants, blaming them for economic struggles, crime rates, and the erosion of French identity. Germany, with its history of welcoming Syrian refugees in 2015 under Angela Merkel's leadership, now faces a growing backlash. The rise of the far-right Alternative for Germany party has intensified anti-immigrant sentiment, leading to policies that make it harder for non-European refugees to find safety. The welcoming attitude shown towards Ukrainians has not been extended to refugees from the Middle East and Africa, who are often subjected to racial profiling and segregation in reception centers. Mainstream media has played a crucial role in shaping public perception of refugees. Coverage of Ukrainian refugees often highlights their European appearance, shared Christian values, and cultural similarities with host nations. Reports emphasize their resilience and victimhood, making them more sympathetic in the eyes of the public. Conversely, refugees from the Middle East and Africa are frequently portrayed as economic migrants or potential security threats. Negative stereotypes, often perpetuated by right-wing media, fuel public resentment and justify restrictive immigration policies. The dehumanization of non-white migrants in the media further entrenches racial biases within European societies. One of the most common justifications for anti-immigration policies is economic strain. Politicians argue that an influx of asylum seekers places undue pressure on public services, housing, and job markets. However, this argument is selectively applied. European governments have found the resources to accommodate millions of Ukrainian refugees without significant backlash, demonstrating that economic capacity is not the primary issue. Instead, racial and cultural biases shape the willingness of European societies to accept refugees. The European immigration crisis is not just about numbers or policies, it is about race. The selective compassion shown towards Ukrainian refugees while rejecting, detaining, or deporting non-white asylum seekers exposes deep-seated racial prejudices within European politics and society. To move forward, European nations must confront these biases, dismantle racially discriminatory immigration policies, and uphold human rights for all refugees, regardless of their origin. Only by acknowledging the racial undertones of the current immigration debate can Europe truly claim to stand for equality, justice, and humanitarianism.